Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to kick off this year's React Alicante. Good morning, Terahomikust, buenos dias. And we have a really great 2 days ahead of us, so let's get started. Hi, my name is KADI. I'm a software developer. I work at Expo, and I absolutely love being a developer. I love building apps. I love understanding how things work under the hood. And I'm just so thrilled for the advances that we're seeing in the world, allowing more people to build more apps quicker. This talk is about side projects, about things that you build for yourself outside of your main job. So a side project is a little something you tinker with outside of your main job. Often it is to try a technology or an idea that you couldn't otherwise. And while you might have really grand ideas of building a whole business of your side project, the most important and impactful reason to have one is to solve a problem that you are having. You, your family, your friends, or your community. Most software today is built for scale. It's built for profit. And it is designed to provide an answer to the generic use case, to the generic question. Because this is what brings in the money. But this leaves this long tail of user needs that will never be catered for. Needs that maybe only you, your partner, your family, your community might be having. And that's just because there's not enough users wanting the same thing for these big corporations to spend the time and effort and money to build it. And that's why we want to build it up for ourselves. In this new, exciting era of generative AI, more people can be empowered to solve their own problems, or problems specific to their communities. In a lot of developer communities, there's been some fear about AI taking our jobs, and then, we're all going to be overcome. I've been to a lot of conferences since generative AI has become a thing, and there's always at least one panel or a talk about, will AI take our jobs? So far, the answer has been no, so that's good. But I feel like we're thinking about this the wrong way. Have a look at these everyday things. Can you see what they have in common? So we have electric toothbrushes, straws, texting, audiobooks. Did you know that all of these things were actually invented to cater for a community to enable them to do a thing that most people could do, but they could not? So an electric toothbrush was invented for people with mobility issues. Paper straws were invented for people who had difficulty drinking from cups. Texting was initially for deaf and hard of hearing people, and audiobooks for visually impaired readers. Have you used any of these things? Have you benefited heavily from them? This is just a very small sample size, but there's literally hundreds of examples of this. Things that are invented for a minority and everyone can benefit. And I feel like generative AI fits right into this lineup. It is created for people who can't code, to enable them to code, to self-serve the problems that big corporations aren't building for. But that doesn't mean that people in this room, we the developers, cannot benefit. On the contrary, we can benefit way more than people that it was originally designed for, because we have this extra bit of knowledge where we can code with AI and enhance it with our know-how. Maggie Appleton gave this incredibly inspiring talk at a local first conference, and it's about the era of home-cooked software, where she goes way deeper into kind of the journey and the idea of self-serving your communities with the software that you want to build. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. If you don't want to watch the video, she also has a blog post. It's really good. But to go back to building for yourself, our tech-focused world has made it both easier and harder to build your own software. For the rest of this talk, I'll tell you about the 3 things that generally keep us from executing on our dreams, and how to overcome it and build anyway. This is a tweet that I posted in 2020. And it says, raise your hand if you are paying for a domain for a personal site, but have never done anything with it. And I mean, I'm raising my hand, because definitely still have one. But a lot of people agreed with that. And in fact, the top comment made light of the experience that I had and the reason why I posted that tweet, and it was because I saw the subscription where I paid another £10 for this domain. And the question is, why? Why are we doing this? Why is this so common that a random post on Twitter receives such a response because everyone reads that and goes, yeah, that's me? Why do we buy these domains but not do the rest? In short, why do we procrastinate? An important thing to internalize here is that procrastination is not laziness. If you procrastinate, you are not lazy. In psychology terms, it is to do with emotional regulation. In short, it is to do with dopamine. You've probably heard of dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that's produced in the brain, and it is a driver for motivation, for reward seeking, for anticipation. Basically, it's the thing that makes us do anything, makes us motivated to do anything, makes us want to do anything. And it is the key to our reward system. Some examples of things that produce dopamine are food, exercise, social connection, but importantly, also achieving goals and completing tasks. So if that's the case, why are we buying the domain but not building our project straight away? Surely we're going to get a dopamine hit. Well, the problem is that there is another axis there, and it is the time to get to the reward. So the longer it takes to get to the reward, then the less likely we are to pick up that task. So in case of buying the domain, as soon as we have the idea, we check that it's free, pay the £10, buy it, we have it, dopamine. Whereas building the project could take days, weeks, months, and that is a very far away reward. What makes it even worse is that there are distractions all around us. Take the slot machine, for example. This is widely used as an example of how the dopamine system is basically hijacked for profit for things around us. So in a slot machine, a person presses a button, these wheels spin, and then when they get in line, they win a reward. So why is this so appealing? For one, it is fast and it's repeatable. Trying again is just pressing a button. But it also has what's called a variable reward schedule, which means that not all button press receives a reward, but some do. And research has shown that this is the most addictive reward schedule out there. Because the anticipation of a reward is in itself rewarding. So looking forward to something is rewarding. It's crazy, but that's why this works. And unfortunately for us, a lot of companies have picked up on this. And there are many, many things around us that are competing for our attention using the same very addictive method. Social media is one. The notification, the like, the comment, we just crave for this next fix. And all of these things companies use to drive us back into the apps are also things that stop us from being productive. They make us more distracted and less likely to achieve our goals. I quite enjoy psychology, I think you can tell. So I'm going to cut myself off on the psychology talk, and I'm going to put the remainder in just one slide. If you are the kind of person that you found yourself checking Slack maybe 20 times, just going like, oh, notifications, okay, no, I'm going to try to do some work, then you're probably in the danger of your dopamine baseline being too high. You're too used to having too many of these short-term dopamine fixes. So, for example, also, doom scrolling on YouTube Shorts will do the same kind of thing. So, there are some theories out there that to get your dopamine baseline high, you should just be bored for all the day. The same like they have a detox. That doesn't work. But learning to be bored is a skill. So if you're the kind of person that can never sit on a bus without being on your phone, try it. So next time when you're on a bus, don't open your phone. Just look around. And actually learning to do that will make you more productive in the things that have a slightly longer term goal that you don't want to do. The other thing is around short-term versus a long-term reward. Our brains are wired to heavily favor immediate rewards, buying the domain now, versus long-term rewards, building the website and then receiving it. So the key to overcome this is to break a task into many smaller tasks, and then you reward yourself in between. Also, generative AI helps here really well, because you can get an immediate reward of something on your page rather than coding for hours and then maybe having a div. And lastly, setting vague goals fails. What this means is if you're saying, okay, on Saturday, I'm going to work on my side project, you're almost certainly not going to. You need a goal that's more like, on Saturday, I'm going to add a feature that adds, let's say, proteins to my food tracker. And that is a much more achievable goal that you can maybe do in an hour and keep the side project ticking. All right, the second thing, and actually this was the reason that I wanted to give this talk. This was the impromptus, and it was scope creep. We're familiar with scope creep, I imagine, from our everyday work. It is when you start a project and you have a fixed scope, and then someone comes around and goes like, oh, I want to build this, and then someone else comes around and goes, oh, kind of, it would be nice if we had this, and suddenly this project that was meant to take a month will take months and months and months. So I found that a similar thing happened to me on my side project. So earlier this year, we got a puppy. He's very cute. He's a ton of work. I've actually never had any pets before, so everyone who warned me that puppies are a ton of work, you were right. But he's very cute, so he makes up for it. And me and my other half, obviously we need to take care of this new puppy now. And we keep having the same conversations. Did you feed him? How many weeks old is he? When did we last give him a bath? And because we're both engineers, we obviously end this with, I'm going to build an app for this. Well, I've built plenty of apps before. I've built apps for big corporations. I work for a company where we help people build apps. We build it. I can do it. So I get started. I was really excited. So I started a new project. I created a splash screen and the app icon. That is probably my favorite part. I've done so many of those. Then I added auth, which I don't really like, but I used clerk, which I do like, so that was even Steven. And then I added a GraphQL API. That was a bit more tedious, but I got to use a framework that I haven't before, so it was quite interesting, so I enjoyed that. And then I got to a database schema. Okay, so what do I need? Well, I need a user table, obviously, and I need a family. And user invites a user to their family. Okay, so we need like a link table between them. And then we need the table for pets, so a family has pets. And you know, the pet doesn't necessarily have to be a dog, it could be a cat or a lizard or a parrot. And then we also have tables for the feeding schedules, logs, weights, etc. So I end up with this. Okay, cool. Well, good to have a plan. Then I went to implement it. And well, for all these things, I need to create my GraphQL queries and mutations, and I had like user access things of like who can see whose pets. And then I went to build the UI, and there's a lot of forms going on where we create a user, and then we create a family, and we invite the user to your family, and we create a pet. And I'm getting bored talking about it, to be honest. And that's how that side project died. Or went on hibernation, I guess. I just couldn't make myself work on it. It was too boring. And it was no longer fun. And the end thing of what I wanted just getting shifted further and further away. And this went on for a couple of weeks. And meanwhile, me and my other half, of course, we keep having the same conversations. But this time it ends with, once we have the app, ... Well, one Saturday, after this conversation, I was like, okay, I've had enough. Who am I building this for? Why am I trying to support a use case with a family of 4 with 2 pet lizards and a rabbit? I don't even know anyone who owns lizards. Like, why am I building this? And that's because my mind, because I am an engineer and I've spent so much time building for other people, I'm thinking of the general enterprise use case. I'm not building for me. So I went back to my code base and I literally deleted like 80% of it. So this was the database schema they ended up with. I think originally actually it was 3 tables, but now I have 4. So we got the users, feeding logs, activity logs, and weight logs. That's it. Notice, notably absent is the pets table, because I have 0 need to cater for a use case for more than 1 pet. In fact, I've just hard-coded my pet into the code base. It's literally me, John, Sherlock, that's it. And literally, this was half a day later, I had an app. We can track our feeding logs, we can track scheduled items, we can track the weight, and of course, it has dark mode. Thank you. Applause for dark mode. Well, the takeaway from here, the lesson that I learned the hard way, and it's so obvious thinking back, is that you want to build for yourself. Build the thing that you need. I am not planning to have an app for the general use case of everyone taking care of their pets. I don't think I want to maintain it. I am enjoying the app that I have. We're using it daily. It's been fun. It's pretty. I can use it to dog food, new expo features. Yay. I had to do it. Yeah, this was the right thing to do. And it is okay to hard code things. In a real project, you're never going to hard code a user details into your code base, because that would be insane. But in this case, I'm not even planning to publish this app to the App Store. It's literally on test flight. So as long as I publish a new version every 90 days, it can be there forever. And set yourself small, standalone goals. This is really important. So I have added a couple of features to this app before, and every single time, it's taken me between 15 minutes to 2 hours. That's it. And then I just push straight to test flight. And of course, this kind of almost goes without saying, but use AI. Even if your everyday work, you are not able to use AI because your company policies don't allow it, or you have limitations, or you just have more restrictions around code quality, this is the point to cut corners and use AI and iterate fast. I also wanted to share some other examples. I was kind of talking to other people at Expo about side projects and what people have been building, and so many people have so many great projects, so this is just a couple of them. So John, our head of product, he plays Scrabble with his in-laws. And when you play Scrabble, a lot of the time you challenge the words. So if someone plays something dodgy, you challenge it. And what you do then is you Google, is blah blah a valid word in Scrabble? And the problem that he was having is that all of these Scrabble sites, there's many, have a lot of ads, so they're quite slow. But also a lot of the time, they will say, oh, blah blah is not a valid word, but you can use the same letters to do blah blah blah. Hold on a minute. This is not what you want your enemy to see in Scrabble. So he created a Scrabble dictionary. This comes pre-bundled with the official Scrabble dictionary for the languages that he needs, and you can quickly check any words. Another example is Juan. And Juan's a huge fan of anime. And while there are plenty of anime sites out there, there wasn't one with exactly the UI that he wanted. So he built an anime tracker. This is a client built on top of an existing, I think it's called AniList, which has like a log of all the anime, but he's built his own UI on top of it to have the tracking mechanisms that he needs. And we have Colin. Colin likes playing Wordle. I don't know if there's any other Wordle fans here. But he wanted an app to help him guess the next word based on existing inputs. So he built it and called it Wordle Cheater. I think he's not messing about. And lastly, and I've given this last, this is from Gabriel, and this is probably the best example of like this building for yourself experience. When Gabriel got together with his girlfriend, they did a lot of traveling. And they wanted just this very specific format of like saving pictures and notes and things from their travels. So he built them an app. And over time, it grew to include like games, fitness tracking, just things that they were talking about. Oh, should we add it to the app? Yeah, let's add it to the app. And I love this idea that every family or every couple or every group could have their own app that they could use to build just the features that they want. It's like, do you need the snake game and maybe like a calendar? Not many apps have exactly the things that you need, so you can build it. So we're on to number 3. And the last big thing to overcome when you're building for yourself is the how. And aren't we fortunate? The how is becoming progressively easier to obtain. So Expo is a React Native framework that many enterprises use and are using to power their business. But it is not, and it never will be, Expo's only use case. Because from day one, our mission has been to make shipping native apps as easy as possible. So that was the goal of our founders, who, when they worked at, well, Meta, then called Facebook, they constantly saw that when someone builds a website, you can go live in minutes, even back then, versus for a mobile app, even to get it running on your phone, it will take hours and native build tools. So Expo now, being a very mature framework, being 11 years old, is the go-to tool for building mobile apps for enterprises, as well as solo devs and vibe coders. And it is the perfect tool for you to make bespoke build-yourself software that will run on your phone. We, of course, highly encourage you to use AI in addition to having AI search in our docs. So our source of truth for everything to do with Expo is our docs. There is a ton there. But thankfully, you don't have to read any of it. So we have this LLMs page, including an llms.txt, which you can feed to your favorite AI tool, and it will do all the reading for you. And we do have quite a few more AI tools planned that I can't quite talk about yet. All I can say is, watch this space. there are exciting things coming. But one thing that I can talk about is something we quite recently launched, and it's called Launch. Basically, we've decided to tackle the hardest thing in app development, and at the moment, it is still actually getting the app that you built to someone else, anywhere else, even yourself sometimes. And we have Apple to blame for that, unfortunately. They have made, in the name of security, the app signing flow incredibly complicated. You need signing certificates, provisioning profiles, app IDs, and honestly, even professional mobile developers struggle with that, and it takes years to really understand it. So with all of these AI coding tools, a lot of them let you build mobile apps, like just on a website and in a tool. And you end up, hopefully, with a GitHub repository with some code, but then you are still needing to deploy it yourself somehow. And this is where Launch comes in. So basically, given that you have a GitHub repository, and you can put the GitHub repository URL in there, then you can use this website to log into your Expo account, create your Expo project, sign in with Apple to your Apple developer account, then choose an existing app or create a new one, configure the Apple certificates. This is the worst part that you don't want to do ever. And this will kick off a build in workflows and also automatically submit to the App Store. So you go from a GitHub repository to an app in test flight that you can install on your phone. There is still a manual step if you want to go live to the App Store, because you have to fill in some details for Apple. But this will take you 90% of the way there. And this is why your next side project should be a mobile app. So to recap, these three are the enemies of our progress in building a bespoke world for ourselves: procrastination, scope creep, and knowing how. But we can overcome this if we build with intent. So we want to set specific small goals. We want to reward yourself after we achieve a goal. And we want to ship an MVP, the first thing you're going to build in your project. You want to ship it in a day, ideally in hours, ideally in half an hour. Be aware of scope creep, and don't forget who you're building for. Build for yourself first. Build the thing that you want. Hard coding is fine. You can always make things more generic later. Focus on features rather than code. And when it comes to know-how, we are in the golden era. We are the luckiest people right now when it comes to AI, because we already know how to code. AI is a superpower that we can leverage to build faster than anyone else. Check out Expo's Get Started Quick tools, especially Launch. And last thing, before I head off, I'd like everyone here, now that you've heard me talk about this for half an hour, think of an idea. So think of something that you wanted to build, maybe something that you've been talking to friends about. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if there was? Maybe it's just a weight tracker, and you just want a bespoke one that's just for you. Think of something that you wanted to build. Now, pick just one feature, not the whole thing, just one feature. So if you want a weight tracker, just build squats. Or if you want a reminder to water your plants, just hard code one plant and add a notification. So think of just one feature. And now challenge yourself. Next time you have time, I put 4 hours, but I feel like you can do this in less. Build this one feature using AI and have it running on your phone in less than 4 hours. And just to prove to you all that I am going to take my own advice, I have had this app idea that I have literally been talking about for 10 years, I think. Because in my very first job, I remember we were talking about it, and the idea was to have this, did anyone have Tamagotchi? It's kind of the same idea, but with a pet rock. It's kind of a joke. So you have a pet rock, and you need to pet it, and then if you give it enough pets, then it will be happy. And it's just like a cute, silly thing. And I've been tempted to build it a couple of times, but it's never quite arrived, mostly due to the lack of being able to create a cute enough rock. But this morning, when I was just reviewing my slides, and I got to the end, I was like, this needs a something. And so instead of practicing, I built my app. So this app, you can see it was at 8:51 this morning. And I generated the app icon using Snap AI. This is a tool by my colleague Beto, which uses OpenAI to generate app icons. And the code was generated by a cursor using one quite long prompt. And I made 3 styling updates after this. This is by no means perfect, but an idea that I have wanted to build for 10 years that I've procrastinated on. The MVP is done in 15 minutes. And if I can do it, so can you. Thank you very much.